All right, let's dive right into this explainer, the librarian who saved every dream. Today, we're exploring a truly beautiful, allegorical story about a man named Arthur. Now, Arthur wasn't a billionaire, he wasn't a world leader or some famous celebrity, he was a librarian. But as we're going to uncover today, his life's work offers one of the most profound lessons on how we view value, how we view brokenness, and ultimately, how we view ourselves. We're going to look at the hidden value in the things others just carelessly discard and how one person's absolute dedication to preserving the past ended up shaping the future for an entire community. So, I really want you to sit with this thought for a second. What if the book everyone wanted to throw away became the one that changed the most lives? It's kind of just human nature, right? Most people judge things purely by their outward appearance. We see faded pages, we see torn covers, we notice the broken corners, and we immediately assume the value is gone. We are just so quick to discard things. But as we'll see through Arthur's story, he possessed a totally different worldview. He believed, with absolute conviction, that nothing should be abandoned before its final chapter. Section 1. The Old Library and a 40-year morning routine. Let's start with Arthur's incredible dedication, which really sets the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. Imagine the center of a quiet town, home to the oldest library anyone could remember. Every single morning, long before the sun even thought about rising, Arthur was already there. He unlocked those heavy wooden doors, dusted the shelves, straightened the books, and got a warm smile ready for every single visitor. And he didn't just do this for a week or a month. He maintained this exact routine for 40 decades. For 40 years, Arthur treated every single book inside those walls as if it carried someone's deepest dream. Give me one day. That reference for books actually became a strict policy of preservation. Because whenever damaged books arrived, and they inevitably did, with ripped spines and waterlogged pages, people in town were completely ready to just toss them in the trash. It was the easy thing to do. But Arthur would literally stop them in their tracks. He'd intercept these discarded books, and his plea was always simple. Give me one day. That was all the time he asked for to intervene and try to pull a story back from the brink of the garbage bin. Section 2. Changing Lives One Book and the Hidden Workshop. Let's see how this builds into the physical manifestation of Arthur's passion. Because when he asked for that one day, he wasn't just, tossing the books on a shelf to magically heal. Behind the library, Arthur had this small, hidden workshop. This was his sanctuary. It was here that he spent hours, sometimes entire days, painstakingly repairing torn pages. He would carefully stitch broken bindings back together, and he'd polish up old stained covers that literally nobody else wanted. He poured his own time and energy into what everyone else considered completely worthless. Stories deserve another chance, just like people. When people would inevitably ask him why on earth he spent hours hunched over a desk stitching the spine of some obscure novel nobody had checked out in 10 years, that was his answer. And honestly, what a profound thing to say. There it is, the core philosophy of Arthur's life. He wasn't just dealing with paper and ink. He completely understood the deep, intrinsic connection between the stories written on the page and the human beings walking through his doors. We see this philosophy in action perfectly with a teenager named Ryan. Now, Ryan absolutely hated reading. He disliked it entirely and only visited the library because his teacher basically forced him to. Arthur noticed this, right? But instead of handing this reluctant teenager some shiny, brand new bestseller to try and grab his attention, Arthur made a really fascinating choice. He handed Ryan a repaired old adventure novel. He told the boy, "This book was almost forgotten. Maybe both of you need each other." Ryan took it reluctantly, sure, but days later, he came back asking for another. And the ripple effect of that single, repaired book, Ryan actually grew up to become a highly successful writer himself, and he dedicated his very first novel to Arthur. Section 3. A Message from the Past, Through Patience and Discovery. So Arthur's quiet dedication was eventually put to the ultimate test. One spring, the town got hit with heavy rains, and the unimaginable happened. The library flooded. Hundreds of books were completely, utterly soaked. The professionals came in, the experts took one look at the damage, and they immediately declared the entire flooded collection ruined, beyond saving, a total loss. For most people, this would be the end of the story. But as we know, Arthur didn't believe in giving up before the final chapter. Refusing to accept the expert's verdict, he rolled up his sleeves. And beautifully, the community rallied right around him. Volunteers joined in, and for weeks they engaged in this grueling, highly methodical process. First, they were carefully drawing every single page. Then came repairing every damaged cover. And finally, meticulously organizing every shelf back to its former glory. Through this massive, unified effort, Arthur proved to the entire town that saving something truly valuable requires immense, unwavering patience. And this dedication to preserving the past, it sometimes yielded incredible, unexpected treasures. During another one of his painstaking restorations, Arthur was working on an old history book when he discovered something tucked away between two pages. It was a 30-year-old handwritten letter. It was penned by a young father to his daughter, and inside was this beautiful, heartfelt message encouraging her to always chase her dreams. Her family had long believed this piece of their history was just lost forever. It feels like hearing his voice one more time. Arthur, being exactly who he was, didn't just file the letter away in some drawer. He took the time to actually track down the family. When he found the daughter, who is now a grown adult, and handed her this piece of her past, she just wept with gratitude. Reading her father's words again after 3 decades, that's what she said. Arthur just quietly smiled. This moment so beautifully shows us that sometimes repairing a broken book actually ends up repairing a broken heart. Section 4. Arthur's Living Legacy. More than just books. All of these quiet moments, all of these saved stories, they were bound to accumulate into something massive. When Arthur finally announced his retirement, he expected a really quiet farewell, just a polite goodbye and a smooth transition into a peaceful post-library life. But the community he had served for decades, they had other, much grander plans to show their appreciation. 42 years. Just think about that scale. After an incredible 42 years of service, his retirement party didn't just have a few coworkers awkwardly eating cake. The library completely overflowed. Teachers, students, parents, children, and authors all packed into the space. And honestly, the most touching part of the whole shebang, many of them were carrying the very books Arthur had repaired decades earlier. One by one, they stepped up to share stories of how those specific, salvaged books had sparked their careers, forged deep friendships, and inspired their lifelong dreams. But of course, Arthur wasn't going to leave without ensuring his work continued. Before finally stepping away, he placed a single, empty bookshelf near the entrance of the library. Above it, he hung a really simple sign, "Books waiting for their second chance." Visitors were invited to donate damaged books there instead of throwing them away. And within months, I kid you not, that shelf overflowed. It sparked this beautiful new tradition in the town, where young volunteers eagerly learned the art of book restoration, keeping Arthur's legacy alive and well. Section 5. The Power of Second Chances and Turning the Page. The absolutely crucial point here is this. Arthur was never just repairing books. As he looked out at that crowded retirement party, he realized that he had spent 42 years preserving possibilities. And that brings us directly to the powerful underlying lesson that this whole story holds for your own life today. Think about the parallel here. It brilliantly illustrates the core metaphor of Arthur's life work. On one hand, you have discarded items, torn pages, broken bindings, faded covers, things society quickly labels as garbage. But on the other hand, we have human struggles, deep emotional scars, broken dreams, failed goals. We so often treat ourselves and others the exact same way we treat damaged books. We see the brokenness and we just discard. But listen, just as damage didn't erase the value of the books Arthur saved, our human scars and our failed goals absolutely do not erase our inherent value, and they certainly don't remove our life's purpose. Never throw away what still has a future, especially yourself. The truth is, your life is very much like an old book. Sometimes the pages get a little stained. Sometimes you find yourself smack in the middle of incredibly difficult chapters. But as long as the story continues, hope remains. The most beautiful narratives often start right after the most difficult, chaotic chapters. You must never decide your entire future based on your worst day. Just turn the page. Everyone deserves a second chance. If this explainer inspired you to remember that the greatest stories out there are often the very ones that people almost gave up on, I want you to drop that exact phrase in the comments below. And hey, be sure to subscribe to Gravonix Stories for more original, motivational explainers just like this one every single week. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. If your life is a book and today is just a single page, what will you write on the blank page waiting for you tomorrow?